Y'all know I just came back from Sony Condo and I vlogged the whole thing, which is totally not a normal thing for me. I'm not normally a vlogger, but it's a muscle I want to work. I know I've told y'all that. So here we are. And I vlogged the entire thing on this setup right here. And I think I've finally, after years of trying, figured out like the ultimate vlogging setup. Well, let me just show you. We're talking about the Sony ZV-E1 and this entire setup right here. And before I really tell you like why I love it so much and like what all the pieces are and why I loved it so much on my trip, let me first start by saying what my like struggles and strifes have been in the past with vlogging. One, it's either been something where it feels like too much equipment, like too much going on. I feel weird carrying it around. It's too many pieces to like put together to vlog, or it's too freaking heavy. It kills me when I see the dudes of the YouTubes carrying around these A7S IIIs, which is what I'm filming on now, with this big old 16-35 lens that I'm filming on now. Because this one, it's heavier than hell. Like, honest to Pete, if I pick this up and like act like I'm gonna vlog with it, it feels like I'm carrying a small child. Like, too darn heavy. So in trying to find the perfect vlogging setup, I need something that doesn't have a lot of moving pieces, that just works when I want it to work, how I want it to work, and isn't too freaking heavy. Y'all, I lift weights, like on the regular, and this setup right here is still too much. So I know it is for most people. And honestly, I will say that like, if you're looking for something with zero setup and like, you don't want to learn how to use a camera, you know, settings more than like the general things, I would then recommend the Sony ZV-1 or ZV-1F, which are the small, I don't have one right now because I sold my other one, but the smaller like point and shoot cameras, I would recommend those because they're super light, they're amazing quality, they are going to last you a long time and all the things. But if you want something a little more advanced, let's take a peek at mine. Okay, so this is like the whole vlogging setup, like the whole thing. And a lot of times I don't even use this mic. So I'll have everything linked below because I don't even remember what model this mic is, but this is one of Sony's mics that like plugs into your hot shoe on your camera and then just works. Like you don't have to have cords or anything like that. So that is perfect for vlogging for me because I don't want to have a bunch of cords I have to plug in and oh my gosh, I forgot to plug in the cord and what's going to happen now and the audio is going to be garbage and blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you, if you're vlogging with something like the A7S III, if your mic comes unplugged, your audio is going to be garbage. The audio built into the camera is not good, but the audio built into this is amazing. So if that happens and this like falls off or comes disconnected or you forget it or whatever, you are fine. And honestly, for most of my Sony Condo trip, I left this in my camera bag and just filmed with the audio here with the little funny white windscreen on, and it did great because the built-in mic here is spectacular. So then again, this is the Sony ZV-E1. I got it in white because it's too much fun. You know, when all your cameras are like one color, getting them in another color is like really fun. And when all the cameras of the world are one color and you get your camera in another color, it makes it for like a fun conversation piece and all the things. So I do love the white. The Sony ZV-E1 is like 1,000,000 times lighter than the Sony A7S III or even the Sony A7 IV. It is a super light, compact camera with like way less features you can see here. Like it just has like this button and like these. There's not a ton of like buttons and things that you can use, but it has like an incredible sensor, an incredible processor, like all of the really cool things that make Sony really amazing in here. And it's like makes it like super, super, super good quality. We've got the Sony 1.8 20mm lens. I talked about this in another video, but honestly, ideally a 16mm would probably be best for vlogging because you're like out here like this. But even with trying the new Sony 16-35G Master Mark II lens, it was still a lot to hold out for vlogging. Now it's way better than this one that I'm filming on right now, which is the big boy, but I really like the 20mm. It's fine. Would I prefer to have the 16? Yes, but I do really like this. And since this camera is like my vlogging camera, I don't ever take this lens off of it. And we just keep the 20mm on it and it's ready to vlog at all times. Now, this little thing right here is extra. And I mean extra like as in bougie, but we're gonna talk about it because it's worth talking about. And by the way, I'm talking about this little gold part at the top. Let me turn it around this way. So you can like twist it and change it. And basically, it's a variable ND filter. And if you're like, what the hell is a variable ND filter? Let me just tell you. So it's basically like sunglasses for your camera. So I have been using my cameras on manual mode since college because I took all these photography classes. I loved photography. I wanted to learn more about them. And there's no way to piss a photographer off faster than using a camera on auto mode. So I have been using manual mode for eons. And so even on a vlogging camera, I'm using a mostly manual mode where I want to control the ISO and I want to control all of these things. But I'm also using a lens that has a really low f-stop, which means if I want to keep that blurry background in my footage, it's letting in a lot of light. And what'll happen is I end up so blown out and I have to crank up the aperture, lose my depth of field just so I'm not like so blown out you can't see me. So these are like sunglasses for your camera. And this one's variable, so it has different like stops that you can put it on. So you have the lightest one and then you have 3, 4, and 5. And I absolutely love this for vlogging because a lot of times I'm vlogging outside and I can keep that blurry, crispy background and not be so blown out I can't stand it with this. So it works perfectly. But again, not something you need. And if you're not using your camera on manual, then you can just have it on like ISO priority or even like intelligent auto in the Sony cameras, and it will adjust your ISO for you and hopefully you won't have that issue. So that is just a little bit extra, but I do love it. I actually have 2 of these. I have this size for this lens, and then I have the size for the lens I'm filming on here. So love them. All right, this little tiny tripod. I finally found a tripod that when I held it for a while, it didn't feel so heavy that it like added to the camera 1,000,000 pounds. So this one is the Manfrotto, and I don't know what model it is. Again, I'll link it below, but it's just a teeny little tiny guy. And he of course folds out so you can put him down on a table, but he also with this button, you can adjust the ball head on here. So if I'm wanting to like hold it a little further out, I can like lean it in and then the camera's a little bit further out. Or if I want to set it down on a table and like have it pointed at me, I can like move this thing to where it's angled up. I do really, really like this. It's super easy to get on and off. All you do is like unscrew it, like just like this. So when I was traveling, I had to take this off of this to put it in my bag in the little compartment I had for it, but it wasn't a problem at all. I just like, boop, in the bag. So didn't add to the problem at all. So you might think, oh, she's done talking about her ultimate vlogging setup. I'm actually not. I have one more tool I want to show you. And you've never been shown this tool before. My phone. Y'all, I think I get in my head about making sure that my vlog is like super high quality on a camera like this. And sometimes if I can't take that camera in somewhere, or I feel weird taking it in, or I don't have enough hands to take it in, or like whatever, I kind of will like just blow off the vlog. Like, that, I'm done now. But this can serve, number one, it can serve all your vlogging needs. But 2, for me, it really helps me kind of fill in the gap. So on my vlog where I went to Sony Condo, there was a lot of footage I filmed with my phone, and then I just color graded it to match the footage I filmed with my camera, because sometimes, y'all, a phone is just easier. It's just easier to pull out a phone on an airplane. It's just easier to pull out a phone in the grocery store. It's just easier to pull out a phone when you forgot your camera, right? Like we always have our phones with us. So I can't not include this, because honestly, I use this a ton when vlogging and plan to use it a ton when vlogging as I move forward and try and like work that muscle. And the thing for me is like you get the pro version of any of the recent phones, and I know new ones are coming out next week, but you get the pro version of any of the recent phones and they have spectacular cameras. So it's like, why not use them? I'm really excited to have finally found like a vlogging setup that feels good to me, that feels like it's enough to where I feel like I'm doing high quality, and it's not so much that it feels like it's too many moving pieces, and it's light enough for me to hold in my obviously weak arms and all the things. If you haven't watched my vlog from Sony Condo, I'll leave it right here. It was so much fun. Cannot wait to go back to another Sony event. I cannot wait to have more opportunity to vlog. And trust me, that's something I'm going to be doing more of on this channel. So definitely stay tuned. But if you want to look through anything I just suggested on that vlogging camera, it's all linked below in the description. And I'll see you next time. Bye!